Welcome back. I still haven't got control. The American public seems to have fallen out of love with Barack Obama. A poll by the Washington Post and ABC News found 89% think the economy's in bad shape and 59% don't like the way the president is handling it. A combination of rising petrol prices, a weak housing sector and high unemployment is slowing the economic recovery, but the president is putting on a brave face.
It's just very important for folks to remember how close we came to complete disaster. I'm not concerned about a double-dip recession. I am concerned about the fact that the recovery that we're on is not producing jobs as quickly as I want it to happen.
Well, the president enjoyed a surge in popularity after the killing of Osama bin Laden, but in just a matter of weeks, that's been wiped out.
It's not surprising that this poll bounce would dissipate. The economy is still the #1 issue. Certainly people focused on the Osama bin Laden killing when it happened. But that was several weeks ago, and the economy is in people's lives every day, and things are looking worse.
Well, our guest tonight is Simon Jackman, Professor of Political Science at Stanford University and the visiting professor at the United States Studies Center. Welcome to The Drum.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
What a difference a month makes. How much trouble is he in?
This has always been the big question. What was the case for Obama's re-election if the economy didn't recover? He owns it now. And although he got that great bump after killing bin Laden there, very quickly the economic fundamentals reasserted themselves in the United States. And so we're back to what American politics and American presidential politics is fundamentally all about. It's a referendum on the state of the economy for the incumbent president, and bad news for Barack Obama is the economy ain't going too well.
Right. Are there emerging parallels between Obama and George Bush Sr., wartime leader who lost because the economy was tanking?
Yeah, a little bit, and that you'll remember that Bush Sr. got that almighty rally in his numbers after Gulf One. Approval numbers in the 90% range at one point. That took a long time to decay, but the American people, meanwhile, were living through a recession. Now, the bump Obama got after the killing of bin Laden is nowhere near as big and nowhere near as long-lived. It's dissipated already, and we're very much back to business as usual, and in fact, with a worse economy than the one George H.W. Bush took into his unsuccessful campaign for re-election against Bill Clinton.
So are these conditions generating some traction in the Republican side? Are there people coming out of the woodwork who wouldn't have in normal circumstances?
Well, that's right. It's a question of supply and demand in American politics. The good candidates might decide to sit it out if it looks like the economy's doing okay and Obama's cruising to re-election. But we're coming up on that moment where if you're going to get your hat in the ring, it's time to do it. And if the economy keeps sending these mixed messages that there isn't a recovery, in fact, we may be even headed for a double dip or worse, then I think you're going to start to see Republicans like Chris Christie, like John Thune, who might have otherwise sat this one out, maybe think twice. And so we've got sort of old faithfuls like John Romney in there right now, and they may be looking at a different field.
Well, let's take the viewers back a bit on these two candidates. Who is Christie and who is John Thune? Just give us a potted history.
Sure. Chris Christie, fairly popular Republican governor in New Jersey, big state on the eastern seaboard. Not in the South, the traditional stronghold for the Republican Party, but the idea that a Republican can win a state like New Jersey speaks to his electoral viability. John Thune, a senator from South Dakota, junior senator there, but immensely popular, didn't have a Democratic challenger in his re-election bid, just a measure of his political stock in his home state. And these are considered to be gold candidates for the Republican Party. Both of them have declared no interest in running against Barack Obama, and the conventional wisdom was maybe they're going to sit this one out. So keep an eye on those particular candidates as the story continues to unfold. But there's not too much time left. If you're going to get in, you're going to have to get in pretty soon as we start to get into the American summer and heading into the primary and caucus season later.
There was a lot of talk last time around that Mitt Romney's being a Mormon was an X factor against him. If Americans can elect a black president, is there any reason why they can't elect a Mormon, for heaven's sake?
That's the wrong election to focus on, believe it or not. I think in the general, Romney would probably do okay. His problem is going to be the primary, right? And where do we start? We start with the Iowa caucuses.
Why is the primary more difficult than the general?
Because he's competing for votes on the far right of American politics. right?
This is the dysfunctional thing about the American system, right? Like, you have to be a total wingnut to get to be selected, you know, in the primary by your party, and then you've got to race back to the middle to sort of act all normal for a while to
That's
get
the game.
It's the most bizarre.
It is. It is
system.
a bizarre system.
But there's always been this distrust of Mormonism amongst evangelical Christians, and particularly in the South, is my understanding, in the US, which doesn't make it understandable why he would always struggle within the
This
Republican
man wears strange
fold.
underwear. It's not.
That's right.
It's surprising that you say being a Mormon isn't strange. So that's
Yeah, but is that kind of our narrative? Is that the media, the chattering class narrative? Are people likely to say, well, Mormon, who cares?
Well, I think that Simon made the point here. Like, it's all about the Republicans. I mean, I suspect that you
But
may
even
be
in the
right
Republican
about the
base
broader.
at the primary level, are they really
This is
going to
like
I would say especially among
Yeah.
that set of voters.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
where, in particular, where will it start? It will start in Iowa at these caucuses, and I think Christian fundamentalists are going to have a difficult time with that. We then quickly switch to New Hampshire, which is right next to Massachusetts, and Romney will do okay, but I don't expect him to win in Iowa, maybe not even be a first finisher in Iowa.
And
Plus-
remember also,
plus
he's got the healthcare
Exactly,
situation. He's actually got quite a bit of baggage, which is a real problem for him in the Republican Party. Basically, you know, the Obamacare legislation in the end was sort of a mixture of what Romney did in Massachusetts. How are you supposed to rail against that, at both the political level, but also at an intellectual and philosophical level for Republicans?
The other problem in the primaries for Romney is that he, I mean, he's since renounced these views, but he used to be pro-abortion and he used to be pro-same-sex marriage. So, I mean, he's certainly scuttled away from those views in recent years, but
He's probably got
kind of
better
got
out
quite
for that
tough.
Last time the campaign against him on same-sex marriage was actually the log cabin Republicans saying you're flip-flopping on this issue, and it was actually Republicans who did him in stopping him.
It seems like a big problem for Mitt is that he seems to come across as perfectly reasonable. That's probably his biggest problem.
There's another big problem, that is late night TV has great sport with him, David Letterman in particular, sort of Blake Carrington running for president, sort of his...
more sport than Sarah Palin.
I don't think that's possible. I think Sarah just keeps on going. She's the gift that keeps on giving. But Mitt, when I was living in Salt Lake City in 2002, he was like the king of the Olympics. His picture was everywhere. It was like King Jong-il, but Mitt Romney. He's very good with image.
But isn't the point, though, that the Republicans are actually looking for a serious candidate? They are tasting the potential for Obama to be kicked out. And Mitt, whatever what was said tonight, he is a serious candidate.
That's right.
Credible. He's got a track record of good business experience as well as political experience and getting things done in a liberal state. So his track record is good, which is why I'm fascinated by your idea that Chris Christie I'm a big Chris Christie fan. He's fantastic. Basically takes on the unions, is prepared to be quite hardline, cut the deficit, which is exactly what American Republicans want right now. But you're right, the conventional wisdom is he'll stay out, and 2016 is going to be the race of a lifetime Mark II.
Let me
for the
just jump in there
Republicans.
before we end up in Wonkville.
Oh, I think we passed one.
massively informed about US politics.
I want to come back to the Afghanistan question because there's a lot in this coming presidential election that's going to be factored in about the timetable for the withdrawal from Afghanistan. We keep hearing the Americans are going to start withdrawing 2014. Is that what you think?
Well, I mean, a surge has got to come to an end at some point, otherwise it's not a surge, right? You know, that's kind of the first thing. The second thing is that when Obama is embroiled in these kind of intense discussions about how this budget is going to be somehow fought into some kind of submission, it's kind of impossible to do that when you're running a war in Afghanistan, isn't it? I mean, it's such a vast area of expenditure that...
It's not just the money, though. Isn't the other question, what are we fighting for? Back to the discussion we had before. Are the American people starting to look at the value proposition of propping up Hamid Karzai?
I've got to tell you the answer is no, and if only for the following reason, our earlier conversation about the economy. It's bad over there. You run these polls, what's the most important problem? Afghanistan just doesn't rate. Terrorism does not rate. It's all about the economy, the budget deficit, social security, healthcare, international, domestic. Gay rights rates higher as an issue than terrorism or Afghanistan at the moment. Yeah, because the gay marriage issue stokes up the right of American politics. Now, for that reason, that conversation is not happening outside of a certain sort of class of shattering people in the United States. And it's just not penetrating. I think it gives policymakers in the United States a bit of a pass on this issue.
Brief final comments and questions from the panel.
What about Sarah Palin? What do you think is going to happen there?
Everybody asked me this in a previous media commitment.
I'm
I
honoured
said
to
I
be the
thought she'd get in, so now I'll say I think she'll do whatever makes her the most money.
But her primary appeal is as a potential contender, isn't
As
it?
a spoiler.
I mean, she's
you need
kind
me,
of,
you love me, you want me, you can't let
Yeah.
me go buy my book.
yeah.
And she can see Russia from her living room.
I don't think Republicans do want her though. I think she's a comic candidate in the end. She's better than Donald Trump, but not much more. I think she'll be not a spoiler. She'll just be a frustration and annoyance in damaging what the Republicans need is a credible candidate. She is not a credible candidate.
Okay, we have to leave it there, I'm afraid. Thank you very much to everyone. Thank you to Simon Jackman for coming in. Thanks also to the panel, Tim Wilson, Annabelle Crabb and Dan Illick. And you can catch the final episode of Hungry Beast on ABC One tonight at 9:30 Eastern. The Drum website is abc.net.au/The Drum. I got it right tonight. See you tomorrow.